Agriculture Minister in Jamaica, Robert Montague, says there is to be an urgent restructuring of the Coffee Industry Board and new management strategies to ensure that farmers get the best price per box of the bean. Montague was delivering the keynote address at the 116th Annual General Meeting of the Jamaica Agricultural Society at the Denby Agricultural Showground, Clarendon, yesterday. He said the preferred bidder for the divestment of the Mavis Bank Coffee Factory has been chosen, and that the Development Bank of Jamaica has announced that the divestment of the Wallingford Coffee Company has commenced. The divestment of the two entities will aid in moving the coffee industry forward and providing a better deal for farmers. The police say a laborer in Western Guyana apparently killed his two young daughters by throwing them into a muddy canal and then hanged himself after a dispute with his common-law wife. Neighbors in the tiny village of Adventure discovered the bodies of 4-year-old Shiva Prasad and her 2-year-old sister Vivya on Wednesday in a canal near their home in the Essequibo region. Police say 25-year-old Chunilal Prasad was later discovered hanging from a tree about 100 meters away from his drowned daughters. A Honduran patrol boat has located a semi-submersible craft used by drug traffickers to carry cocaine. 5 crew members have been detained. Officials say the submarine-like vessel was floating about 50 meters under the surface of the water off the Honduran coast after the crew tried to sink it. They say divers have recovered part of the cocaine aboard the craft. They estimate it was carrying as much as 5 tons. Defense Minister Marlon Pascua said today it was the first time Honduran authorities have seized such a craft in their waters.
Good evening, I'm Kent Jerson and this is the Business Report. Government will struggle to meet its fiscal targets for income tax collections if businesses in Barbados remain unprofitable. That's according to President of the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Andy Armstrong. He was responding to recent figures released by the central bank, which indicate that corporate tax amounted to half of what was collected last year, and that VAT receipts fell by 2% despite a recent 2.5% rate increase. Mr. Armstrong says the sacrifice by businesses to maintain jobs has its consequences, and there are companies that are struggling to make ends meet.
If you read any of the financial reports that come out on a regular basis in the newspaper, you'll see that almost all companies are still showing significant reduction in profit over last year. So I think that just highlights what is happening out there in the economy, that things are still very tough. Companies in Barbados didn't rush to lay off a lot of staff. They've kept staff on even when financially it hasn't made sense to do so. So they've maintained employment at the expense of profit.
Mr. Armstrong also says to help improve the business sector, the Chamber has advised its members to plan ahead for the future by investing.
We're very keen on the whole renewable energy, and as we said at our luncheon a week or two ago, it is the right time to invest in solar PV panels to generate your own electricity. The payback is there, and the financing is out there. You can borrow money now at about 4% if it's going into renewables. So we're trying to send a message out, do what you can now. That's going to reduce your operating costs by reducing your electricity costs. So don't throw up your hands. You have to do what you can do to set yourselves up for the future.
Barbados is being viewed by other countries as a model for the advancement of entrepreneurship among its people. Word of this from Professor Bob Garrett of Cass Business School in London, England. He is in Barbados conducting a workshop on new forms of strategic thinking among business people. It was held at BYBT's headquarters on Harbour Road. Professor Garrett is also reviewing the operations of the Barbados Youth Business Trust to ensure it has a solid strategy going forward.
I'm very happy to say that in our early part of the review, it looks as though both are good. They're obviously, the prudent control side looks very good indeed. The issue is not so much for the trust at the moment, but it's the general economic situation regionally. How do you drive forward when the earlier sources of funding, which came from government, although the Barbados government has been very good, but came from other international development agencies, which are now retreating quite a bit. How do you begin to maintain and develop what you're doing when your sources of funding are not drying up, but are much smaller than they were.
Professor Garrett also gave the thumbs up to the decision by government to put more resources behind entrepreneurship as a way to stimulate wealth creation among Barbadians.
This has two effects. On the one hand, the money in circulation, which the bankers call the velocity of money, if you can speed that up, then the money in circulation really does allow more wealth to be generated within a stable economy, on the one hand. And on the other hand, it does begin to create imagination, creativity amongst people, often as you call them here, the underserved, who really didn't see there was anything they could do other than either be employed or unemployed, but they can begin to develop their own wealth-creating activities.
Now here's a summary of today's trading on some of the region's stock exchanges.
A very good evening to all, and we observed a generally fair day across Barbados and across most of the island chain. The shower activity was actually to the extreme north of the chain, and you'll see that shortly. The maximum temperature, though, at the airport, we got up to 31.5 degrees Celsius. The minimum temperature throughout the period, 25.6. No measurable rainfall at the airport. At 6 o'clock, skies were fair. The temperature was rather warm, 29 degrees Celsius. The humidity stood at 79%. And the winds were out of the east at 15 kilometers per hour. The apparent temperature today, 38 degrees Celsius. The very breezy conditions kept the temperature in check, and it was not too bad. The high pressure ridge, though, was the dominant feature, Barbados and the island chain. This is the blemish I spoke about in the extreme northern portion of the island chain. But let's go into the eastern Atlantic. There are actually two waves in the eastern Atlantic. There is one in the vicinity of 41 degrees west. No, there are three actually. One just off the African coast. That is in the vicinity of the Cape Verde Islands at this time. Not a lot of activity associated with that one, but this is the one we are going to be focusing on over the next couple of days in the vicinity of 48 degrees west, with the activity to the south of 15 degrees north. Quite a bit of action in this tropical wave, and we're going to be focusing on that. Let's put the cloud in motion. The ridge of high pressure was the dominant feature over most of the island chain. As a result, the very strong subsidence environment meant that little or no low-level cloud made it into the island chain, and as a result, we had those lovely conditions. But some leftover moisture from the passage of a tropical wave over the past couple of days got enhanced by a mid to upper level trough, and we had this explosion of activity over the north, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and some of the northern islands had some heavy showers. I took a look at some later satellite photo, and there was another burst of activity, but most of what you're seeing pushing south is high-level cloud. Indications are that for the next couple of days, we're going to be looking at mostly fair conditions. It's going to be breezy. Of course, there's the stray shower. The model data, though, is suggesting that this tropical wave, there's going to be a slowing down of this tropical wave, and as a result, the pressure gradient in the island chain should be falling. The moisture is going to be building up, but we're going to be looking at some showers late Sunday into Monday. I'll give you more of the details later. Welcome back, and this is the picture we are expecting to be seeing across Barbados and across the region tomorrow. As I indicated, the high pressure ridge is going to continue to be the dominant feature. We got some shallow patches moving in, just some passing showers expected for the next few days. Of course, this is the tropical wave around 48 degrees west peeping into the picture. That is going to be moving in late Sunday into Monday, but as I told you, that is a dynamic situation. We're going to be keeping you fully informed. Take a look now at our 4-day prediction. We're looking at Friday through to Monday, mostly fair and breezy till late Saturday. Then the graph is going to be increasing. The moisture levels are going to be on the increase. The possibility of showers and a few isolated thunderstorms into Monday as that tropical wave pushes into the area. Sunrise in Barbados tomorrow, 5:39. Sunset will be at 6:29. The tide situation, the first high tide 19 minutes after 3 in the AM, the second is going to be at 6:38 in the PM, the first low tide 4 minutes after 10 tomorrow morning, the second is going to be at 9:54 in the evening. The seas at this time slight to moderate in open water, swells just up to 2 meters, and the winds across Barbados and across the region, east-southeasterly to easterly 15 to 35 kilometers per hour. Tonight, we are looking at mostly fair and hazy conditions, and tomorrow, mostly fair and breezy.